Hi, this is Yemi from PurposefulMe.co.uk, and this is another video in the series that I've been doing from my second book, which is titled The Purposeful Life Project. No, I wrote this book because I saw a gap in the market, because where there were books that told you or showed you how to discover your purpose, but I really couldn't find any book that showed me how to go about it. So it was like, okay, now I know what I want to do with my life. Now I have some ideas about the business I want to build. But what next? What's the first step I should take? What's the second or third or fourth or fifth steps that I should take? And as I went through that thought process, I looked for books that told me that. And I couldn't really find a book that was tailored in terms of its language, in terms of its accessibility, in terms of the tools and techniques that I might use or need. I couldn't find something that gave me all of that. And so the idea to write this book was born to help address that. Bearing in mind that in 2017 I had started this blog that had an objective of helping people to achieve their purpose or to become better versions of themselves. And then I thought to myself, how can I help people to do that if it's not that easy to have the tools and techniques to do it? So I needed to do something about that problem, or kind of close that gap. And that's where this book came from. So you can get the book on Amazon, any of the Amazon, whether it's the US, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, it's all there. These videos I'm doing, it's not going to cover every single chapter in the book. I'm just going to maybe pick and mix a few chapters because it's just to give you a taster of what is in the book and how it could help you. So today I want to talk about just a couple of things. So in one chapter in the book, it talks about the right capabilities. Every project team or leader needs the right skill set, and at the start of a project, one of the first things you will do is to look at your project team, and because you want to understand their capability, you want to understand their skills and their experiences. The reason you do that is because it helps you to see whether there are gaps that you need to fill in a different way, because you might need to increase their skills. You might need to bring in a completely different project member, or maybe swap a project member to get a skill you don't have. Imagine if you have a project that's data driven, and then you suddenly find out that everybody on your team is new to Excel, or they are new to project management. You have no one that's really skilled in Excel. But so how are you going to analyze the data? Or maybe you need a completely different a data analytical tool, and you're thinking nobody on this team currently has an understanding of a particular software that you're going to have to use for big data. What do you do? So you have a couple of options. One is bring somebody in with those skills, or find a way to quickly upskill those that are already there. But you can't do that unless you first know what skills that you have. And so this chapter is all around the right capabilities. So you need to ask yourself the question, what capabilities do I need to successfully deliver my project? And what do I have? So for a personal project, it might be things like you need good time management, you need some technical skills. So when I was working on my website, initially I did everything myself. So it wasn't perfect, it wasn't the slickest or most beautiful website, but a part of me wanted to understand the challenges of that journey. I could have paid for a web designer, but the whole idea of what I was doing was almost like using myself as an experiment, that if I had to start this and I didn't have the money to pay a web designer, and I didn't have the money to pay a graphics designer, and I didn't have the money to do all of these other things professionally, what would that feel like? What would that look like? So I walked through that journey myself, and I did my best, and I learned, and I failed, and I got up and I learned. And that's why it says here, I don't fail, I learn. So each time I made a mistake, I would learn from that mistake and I'll try again. And I think I had the blog going for 2 years before I actually got a professional in to upgrade it. And for me, it was because I felt like I had walked the journey, I had learned the experience, I had been able to put that experience into this book, so that somebody who's never done it before will see that that failure and getting up and all of that is part of the journey. And at that point, I felt like, yes, now I can pay for a professional to get it done seamlessly. So what are the right capabilities that you need? So for me, I needed technical skills, which included website design, website management, and I had to pick up those skills quite quickly. And so I was studying non-stop. I needed networking skills. So as a freelance blogger, a lot of my materials comes from interactions with people, comes from observing them, comes from sometimes going for public lectures and being inspired by somebody's life that I kind of maybe retell their story or take a phrase they said and I develop a post around that. So for me, I needed networking skills, and then I needed brand management. So I looked at it and I thought, actually, having a blog, being a public speaker, trying to be a motivational speaker, trying to be an author, all of that requires a level of brand knowledge or brand management, because at the end of the day, I'm putting out a brand and I wanted my brand to be known for excellence and for certain things. And so I had to ask myself or complete a skills gap analysis. So I need website design. Do I know how to do that? Nope, I don't. I need brand management. Do I know how to do that? Nope. In my work setting, my brand was about quality and excellence, but which is great. But giving your website a brand, giving your book a brand, giving your ideas a brand is completely different from giving your personality or how you work a brand in the workplace. So they are slightly different things. So I realized, okay, there's a gap in brand management, there's a gap in website design, and understanding this gap and understanding my capability and doing my gap analysis helped me to now figure out what I needed to learn, how quickly I needed to learn them, and then what ways would I learn them. So I had to do all of that before it worked. Second thing I want to briefly touch on in this video is also the right project methodology. So with any project as well, there are lots of methodologies out there depending on what you studied, depending on the type of the project. So if it's a data-driven project, there's something called Six Sigma, which is a data-driven approach. You could use a Lean approach, you could use a Prince 2 methodology. There are just so many methodologies out there. But there are some commonalities amongst all of them, which is that you have to understand the problem and then all the way to getting data to validate it, and then coming up with potential solutions once you figured out the problems, implementing those solutions, checking that they have worked, and then putting steps in to make sure they are sustained. So there are some things, there are certain elements that's common to them. It could be a 4-stage, 5-stage, 7-stage project, but what you would find is that all certain stages are represented in all of them. So one of the first methodologies that I used years ago was called FADE, F-A-D-E, and FADE was about, it stood for focus, analyze, design and develop, that's the D, and execute. And so when I was looking at this project, this book as a project, and looking at my website as a project and many other things as a project, what I've done is think about a methodology that I wanted to use. And I tried as much as possible not to overcomplicate anything. So I didn't select the 7-stage models. I didn't select the ones that were way confusing. I just made sure, one, I understood the concept of project methodology and how to go through the gateways. In other words, how to move from one stage of the project to another and to another and to another until you implement and embed your solutions. So again, you need to adopt that thought process when you're implementing a project. So at the idea stage, what's the problem that you're trying to solve? And then how do you know that that's the right problem to solve? That's where your data collection and or what's called your measure phase would happen. or some will say measure / analyze, because once you've got your data in, obviously you've got to figure out what that data is telling you. Otherwise it's just numbers, or it's just information. For that information to mean more, you need to know what is it telling you. So you have to analyze the data for it to tell you something. So now that the data has told you something, typically it will tell you what the problem is. It will tell you how big the problem is, how serious the problem is. It will give you an opportunity to prioritize the problems in the order in which you want to resolve them. All of that happens in your analysis stage. Then you move on from your analysis stage into your improve stage, or your implement stage. And this is the stage where you are now saying, I've gathered my data, or I had my problem. I gathered the data to confirm that that problem is what is really the problem. And now I understand the problem. I know which ones to resolve. So now I'm going to use certain tools to come up with solutions. And that happens in your improve phase. So you're coming up with the solutions. You're making sure that those solutions will address those problems that you started with. And then once you're sure that you've got the right problems and you're going to be solving them with these solutions, then you move into what we call implement or execute stage of the project. And this is where you are simply making things happen. You're simply getting those solutions into place. It could be technology solution, it could be a training solution. You're implementing those. And then once you've executed that, part of execution is always checking that what you've done has worked. Otherwise, what would be the point? What's the point of implementing a solution if there's no way for you to check that it's worked? It could be the wrong solution, or maybe you solve the wrong problems. Trust me, any project manager has been there, done that, or failed in some sort of way. And so obviously you do that checking all happens. So you do that by tracking your data, by looking at what's changing, at the problems that we saw before, are they now improving, and all of that. And of course, once you're sure that everything is going the way you want it to go and the evidence is supporting that, the next thing you want to do is, how do I make sure that these things that I've done, or these changes that I have made, or this improvement that I have implemented, how do I make sure it continues to stay that way? So we continue to work in the new ways, and that's the phase we call embedding the solutions, or in some project phases it's called sustain. So in other words, how do we sustain the gains or the benefits that we've had on this project, or that we've delivered on this project? And then how do we embed new ways of working culturally amongst the people that we've been working with? So you need to make sure that your project methodology, loosely, in one way or another, must follow all of those at least 5 key stages. And then that's when you can actually say you've got a successful project. So again, I've come to the end of this video. I hope it's kind of helped you or demystified another aspect of project management for you. I hope you've taken some tips that you can apply to your life, to your goals, to your objectives, to your personal projects, or to your work projects. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can get any other videos I do from as part of this series. And don't forget to also go onto the website purposefulme.co.uk. From there, there's links to everything, including how to get this t-shirt. So check it out. There's so much information out there. There's 2+ years worth of information that's there just waiting for you to discover it and for you to use it to change your life. Thanks again for watching. I know that these are long videos, but I hope that you see them as educational videos and something that helps you to achieve your own goals as well.